In this video, I'm going to show you how to check your project into Jazz Source Control. So there's a couple components to Jazz Source Control. The first one is the stream, and if you're coming from an SVN background, you can think of a stream as either the trunk or as a branch. But essentially it is an area where you can configure several components together into one project configuration. In this particular one, we have two components. We have the Speakeasy Distillery Web component, and we have an Interfaces component. And when you think of components, they're actually very portable. So I like to think of them in terms of Visual Studio solutions. So everything that fits under one solution can be considered a component. But what makes them portable is the fact that, let's say I have this component here. This is the interfaces that I use on this website, but I could also use them for, say, a separate user interface. So in order to keep it flexible, I have these in a separate solution. I can check them into a separate component, and I can use that component in other streams and in other projects. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to focus on the Speakeasy Distillery website and the web component. So, the first thing that I need to do when working with a stream is to create a repository workspace. A repository workspace is similar to a stream, but it's only used by one developer. So, when I create this repository workspace, it's mine. Everything I check into it is my own code. No one else sees it. The benefit is when I check in code to my workspace, I have all the benefits of version control. So I can look at previous versions of individual files that I've checked in, compare them, restore them. And I also get to check them into a server, so I get the benefits of backup and restore. Because those are no longer on my local workstation. So if I lose my local copy, if it just gets deleted, or the virtual server I work on just decides to go bonk on me, I still have a copy of all my work inside of my repository workspace, saved at the server, part of the backup plan. So very good practice to always check in your code on a regular basis into your repository workspace. So this view here shows my current repository workspaces. As you can see, I have one here called the Speakeasy Distillery Main Dev Workspace, and I have two components under there. What I want to do now is I want to check in this solution into this component, the Speakeasy Distillery Web component. In order to do that, I will right-click on the solution and choose to I don't think I have an option for that. Interesting. 1 second. Okay. I had previously shared this project in Jazz, so it automatically showed it as shared, so I had to disconnect it first. Now when I right-click on the solution, it shows me the option to share projects in Jazz, so I will choose that. I will choose the projects folder as my sandbox, and the reason I want to do that, let me draw you into the source code here. So under my projects folder, I have several folders here. There's Speakeasy and there's a Speakeasy Core. Under Speakeasy Distillery, I have a source folder, and this is not something that Visual Studio sets up by default. I go in here and do this on my own. This is more similar to what Visual Studio will give you inside of your Speakeasy folder. So this is the root of my solution file. Because I've added these other files in between, it tries to locate the sandbox at a higher level. Because I want to include this folder, the Speakeasy Distillery, and everything inside of that in my component, so I will move my sandbox down to the projects level and hit OK. I am going to associate this particular project with the Speakeasy Distillery web components. Click Next, and this panel here will show you certain files that will not be checked into the project by default. So these are ignore patterns, and as you can see, there are several that are added in there by default, and if you want to browse through here, this will actually show you what files and folders will be ignored, will not be checked in. And if you say, well, I don't like that, I want the bin file to be checked in, for example, you can find the pattern in here and just remove it. I tend to like the patterns that they give you by default, so I will just accept those and click Finish. The first thing you'll notice when it's sharing these files is it will add some icons to our Solution Explorer, and for those that work with Team Foundation Server, they should look familiar. You'll get this cylinder to tell you something has been checked into source control. We're not gonna, well, I guess it's showing that cylinder by mistake there. What we should have, here we go, is this arrow saying that it's an outgoing change. An outgoing change is a change that has been checked into your repository workspace, but has not yet been delivered to the stream. So it's checked in, it's under version control for you only, but no one else in your team can see it or interact with it. So this is the pending changes window here, and anytime you have changes on your local workspace or changes that you need to deliver to the stream, you'll be working in this view. If you don't see pending changes, you can easily get to it by going to the Team Concert menu and looking under the Windows submenu for pending changes. And you can find several other good windows under here. Team Artifacts is a big one. Pending changes is a big one. So what I'll do is I will explore under pending changes. We see we have an outgoing folder under our Speakeasy Distillery web, and we see we have this here. It represents a change set, and it's already got the comment in here to share projects. What a change set is, it's basically it's a grouping of files into a single container. So all these are files and folders that were shared when I chose to share this project. So everything under this change set is something that has been added, deleted, or changed, modified within our components. And it's all grouped under this one container here called a change set. When I deliver a change set, all those files get checked into source control. If I want to deliver that change set to, say, another stream, then all those files that are associated with that change set get delivered with it. So it's important to scope your change sets properly. Right now, this particular change set is just for sharing the project, so it's going to have a lot of stuff in there. What I want to do is I want to associate this change set with a work item. Just to back up a minute, a work item is essentially a defect or an enhancement or a task. Some piece of work that needs to be done in source control. Typically you'll find those under your current plan. If you're on the sprints, if you're on the agile methodology, you'll see it in the sprint backlog. So I can open that and I can see what current items I have under my plan. I can see there's one here to fix a typo. I should have another one. So let me look under my predefined queries. I think the reason it's not showing here is because I have closed it. So I looked into those that were recently closed by me, for instance. I should probably see another work item. And what I'm going here is I'm actually going, instead of going through the plans, I'm going through the work items. And these are just some queries to pull up different work items. And there's some predefined queries here. One of those is to see those that were recently closed. Another one is to see my current work, which is also a very useful one. So what I want to do is I want to associate this work item with this task to check in the source code. So I'll select that and click OK. And now that it's associated, what I want to do is I want to deliver this change set into the stream so other people can see it and download it and use it. Okay, you may have noticed there was a second work item. Let me see if I can pull that up again. Here we go, to fix a typo on a particular web page. So let me walk through that quickly. There's a typo under the index. There it is. So we'll go ahead and correct that, save our changes. The first thing you notice when we save our changes is this icon will change to a pencil, which tells us there has been a local change. This is a change that's on our local file system that has not been checked into our repository workspace. So it's not under version control, and if it gets deleted on our local file system, that change is gone forever. I can still get the file back, but I can't get that change back. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to get that checked into our repository workspace. And as soon as I check it in, I have to associate it with a change set, which is good because this change set happens to fit in very well with this work item that we had previously to fix the typo. So this work item can be resolved with the change to this one file. And you notice that I don't have to associate this work item with this change set. The reason that is because this is my current work item. I can find a work item in this view and set it to my current work item. And when I do that, whenever I check in a file into a new change set, it automatically associates that change set with my current work item. So it saves me that step. So what I need to do now is I need to give it a comment. So found typo and fixed it. Now that my change set has a comment, now that it has a work item associated with it, I can choose to deliver this. What I'm going to do, however, is I'm going to choose to deliver and resolve the work item. And this is just a quick way of saying, hey, this work item is done. You can change its status to complete. And if I refresh this here, it removes it from my current work query. So my current work is done, and I have nothing left to do. I can go home.